What's up, everyone? This is the Disciple, and this is going to be part 2 in my How to Mix Hardstyle tutorials. Sorry this one's coming out so much later than the other one, but better late than never, right? So this one's going to be about how to organize your music and how to import it into Rekordbox. Rekordbox is Pioneer's music management software, and it's what you're going to need if you're ever going to be playing in any club or any festival around the world. So it's going to be the same whether you're in a small club in Australia or you're playing at the main stage at DEF CON. It's all going to be uh, managed through this software. So first things first, you need to get your song. In this example, I downloaded Tone Shifter's free track, I Am Australian. So we'll use that as an example. I set all my music into genres by folder. And then we'll do the same here in Rekordbox too in playlists. So if you put it by folder, that's already going to segment your music, which just makes it easier to find later. You could actually do it more refined than I have it now. You could make it early hardstyle, euphoric hardstyle, all that stuff. I just have hardstyle in kind of a generic folder, and then I put raw in its own, reverse in its own, and energy in its own, which is kind of like Audio Freak, old TNT tracks that just have a lot of energy. That's what I call energy. So if we go in hardstyle, then we search for I Am Australian. We find the track. First thing we want to do is we want to make sure all the track settings are set correctly. So because this is just an individual file, I can do it just in Windows. If I'm doing a bulk of files, what you'd want to do is to download a program called MP3 Tag, and that's really going to help you out. It does bulk operations, and it's a complete lifesaver. So we can see by going into the details of the track, it doesn't actually have the title or the artist set. So under title, we'll put I Am Australian. Then for contributing artists, we'll put Tone Shifters. And normally when you buy tracks from websites like Juno Download, Beatport, Hardstyle.com, Hardtunes, they're all going to have this information pre-populated, so you don't need to worry about it. It's more free releases that you're going to need to do more editing on, but it's a small price to pay when the tracks are free. And then the other one I make sure I do is genre, so that's Hardstyle. You can put the year if you want. I'll put 2019. I don't do that for most of my tracks, but entirely up to you how detailed you want to get. So we'll click apply. Alright, so that's all set. And now what I'll do is I'll drag it from my folder where I keep the actual file, and I'll put it into the Hardstyle playlist. So you can see there that it's starting to import. So I have playlists set for all my genres of music, and then I also do playlists for different sets. So you can see here it's all my genres, then below, after 2005, these all go into ideas for mixes. So you can see I thought about doing a dither mix, I thought about doing a mix with like my favorite melodies, stuff like that. So you can make as many playlists as you want. It's up to you how refined you want it. But I would not suggest on having all your music just be in one giant collection, because you can even see here my hardstyle playlist is getting pretty big, 571 tracks. That makes it harder to find songs when you're in the middle of a mix, and it makes it better for you to be able to find your tracks easily. So now if I search in here, I'll search I Am Australian. Okay, so now we found it. So now I'll double click it, and it'll show up here on the preview. What I always do is I set cues on all my tracks. So what a cue does is it's just a memory set to a specific point in the track for you to have later when you show up on your CDJ or your XDJ, whatever it is that you're using that's Pioneer. So if I hit cue here, that'll create the cue, and then if I just tag memory, that's going to create a cue that'll come up later. It's at the very beginning of the track, so this one's not that important. It gets to be more important on tracks that have a little bit more to them in the intro, or if especially hardcore, UK hardcore, you're going to want to make a lot of cue points. So all it does is now I know, okay, this is going to be 2 phases in, and then it's going to reach this point. You can hear that kick come in, and now it starts to wind down. and then it'll start going into the break. This track doesn't have a mid intro, just goes straight into the break, so it's really easy for us to do. There's not a lot of other parts you'd want to bring this track in. You can listen to later parts where, maybe I'd want to combine this melody later with the lyrics of something else. So what you would do is you try to find where the phase is. So you can see here it goes da da da, and that's the start. So I'd hit Q here, and then add it to memory. What you want to do to be sure is you want to count everything. So to make sure this is 2 phases away, because that's normally how I mix in tracks, is I'll go here, and then let's just start to count. So it'd be 1, 2, 3, 4, 2, 2, 3, 4. You can see Pioneer's actually counting it for us in Rekordbox here, so we don't even need to. The trick is it's not always going to start on the one beat, depending on your track. It just depends on how the track is cut. Sometimes when they're released, they can be a little funky. And you can do manual editing to fix that. So you can see 16. Okay, so that's fine because it's 16 bars, which we know from the last video, 8 bars in a phrase. So you can also, I like to put one at the start of the second phrase, just in case I ever want to mix in just by one phrase. And that's it, pretty much. Other than that, you want to make sure that the BPM is set correctly. So, Hardstyle, mostly 150, 155 to 160 if you're listening to raw, 145, and maybe down to 140 depending on how old the track is, like early Hardstyle. But you want to make sure the BPM is set correctly too. So, if I see here all these lines for the bars, they're matching up exactly to the waveform. And then you can also just do it by hearing too, it doesn't have to be the waveform. If this was set incorrectly, what would we do is go to grid here, and then we would set this to exactly where we want. So I'll do it wrong here, and now you can see all these are off. And what that's actually going to do is if you use the quantize mode on a CDJ, XDJ, etc., the quantize mode lets you do effects and beat loops always on beat. So no matter when you press it, it's going to adhere to whatever the beat grid is that you've set up on Rekordbox. So that's why it's really important to get all this correctly. Because if I had quantize mode set on my CDJ and I wanted to do a cool effect on this track or something, it's going to be off time because I didn't set this right. So you want to make sure, zoom all the way in. Right there, yep. Okay, that's all set. And then you always want the one beat to be on the one beat, so the start of the track. So if I did this, then now all of a sudden you can see the red bar, or the red line, sorry, that's going to start the bar at a different time to where it actually is. So if we go all the way over here, we can see, oh, now it thinks the bar ends here, when it actually ends here. So very important to get this right. It makes your life so much easier when DJing. And that's about it. You just got to do it for all your tracks. So you can see here through my library all these Hallucin tracks. Some of them I only have one cue point in, some of them I have more. It's time consuming, but you're going to want to do it as soon as you import your tracks into Rekordbox. And whenever you buy a new track or find a new free release, you're going to want to do it as soon as you put it into your collection. Otherwise it's going to pile up and you're going to have hundreds of tracks that are not actually properly set. So that's about it, guys. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to answer them, and happy mixing.